Just start, yeah?
Yeah.
You're rolling.
Yeah.
Okay. Alright, Avon Special.
Avon Special.
You may have guessed from the title of this video that I'm Roi Kристи, and this is one of my flies I invented many years ago. You start in the bend, go halfway around the bend, and tie in a wood duck feather. This we will prepare. The wood duck feather will represent the wing on the emergent insect, and it should be soft, strong, and give the impression of that wing. So to make it soft, the first thing I do, I take out the centre of the wood duck feather, just to take out the spine of the feather. That tiny little bit at the tip, it probably doesn't really matter much, but you take this out. And tie the feather in at 90 degrees to the shank. And get it to length. So basically all the fibres are outside that V. So we're tying them in single strand. No harm in a lock and wrap. Okay. Then we're going to put a hackle, funnel a hackle in underneath it. So get some little rooster neck. With that. And it should, in the surface, when it's sitting in the surface, it should sit in the cup. So it wants to be that way out, shiny side out alongside the wing. And that way it'll wrap shiny side down. Tie in here. And then follow down to leave a base for your hackle without any bumps in it. So we come right down here before we cut off all these excess pieces of feather stems and stuff. So there's plenty of room there for the hackle and the thorax. Take out the hackle stem, take out the bottom of the wing, and then run the thread in touching turns to the eye of the hook, or near as that to touching. This isn't a normal size fishing fly, I'm doing it on a hook that's about twice the size of a normal fishing fly. So you can see what I'm doing. For tails we take some rooster hackle fibres and tie them in over the eye. These will represent tails on your emergent nymph. And tie them in on top of the eye on an upside down hook, which is in fact inside the gate. There. A wrap underneath, a wrap over the top. There's your tail. There. To give an impression of tails on the insect emerging. What the trout would see when this insect's emerging at this stage would be, the tails would be clear, because the insect's gone from that part of its shuck. Anyway. I want to put a rib on the body because fish love segmentation and it gives extra strength to the fly. If I could ever find the end of this thing. This is the magic wire that has no end on it. We'll try a different magic wire. Slightly better. This is very long, too long in fact. When you're tying this fly, don't leave yourself a big piece of wire to deal with, because you're going to have to wrap around that all the time. So do as I say, not as I do. You want a furry body so that the thread and whatever, it's pretty much see-through. Gives the impression of a half-empty shut and a little hint of colour. So we dub onto the thread and then wind the abdominal section of the insect. If you leave this wire much longer, you're going to have a 6-foot arm to get around it. A bit more, I think, on there. Just touch. And then rib the body to make it attractive to the fish and to make it really strong. You want anywhere between 5 and 9, say 10 ribs on the body. The naturals, I believe, have 10. And when you get to there, wrap, 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 lock. You can go around that a couple of times if you want. Make sure everything's in. And take out the excess rib. Not with the point of your good scissors. We're nearly there, folks. This hackle will be wound to support the fly at the surface. So we wind. It should be cup shaped. We can get this hackle to wind nice and tight. Forgot to say, come up here about halfway back to the wing with the thread. You'll see why in a second. You get as many wraps of hackle as it takes to float the fly. In this case it's going to take about 10 wraps because it's a huge hook. 4 or 5 turns would normally work. And then when we get to the thread, we wind past the thread and then back up and hold that while you grab a turn there. That's about 2 wraps in from the end of the hackle. And then you take about 2 or 3 turns in there and then come back here and just catch everything neatly down like that. And you make a cup. Very similar to what Neil Patterson, well in fact the same process that Neil Patterson used in a fly called funnel down. It wants a thorax, more dubbing. I'll wind the thorax onto the base of the hackle to push it further up. Emphasizes the seat, the cup. Wind that in there, up against the base of the hackle, and then back to here to make the body. And the point of this fly is that it hangs at the surface. It represents a hatching nymph, olive, mayfly, whatever. And by virtue of its shape, it sinks the tippet on impact. So it's another of these things. Oops, I broke that on the second whip. So when you go to fish it, grease the hackle and the wing and leave this clean, and then degrease the tippet, and whenever you float it down the stream, it will sink the tippet and give you a clean presentation on a fly that looks like that. It's good for mayflies, caddis, midges, excellent fly for midge on a lake. And it doesn't need the wing to make it hang like that. You build it cheap, you don't put a wing in it. Just hackle and body. That's it, Avon Special.